Yeah,
I
cool.
just buy digital products.
And I'm about to become a multi-monitor user, so.
I can't
Oh
wait.
my god, dude. I had to use a single monitor for the past week, and it was an absolute nightmare.
I will never. I'll use a computer without a graphics card before I use a
Mm-hmm.
computer with two monitors.
Oh, without a doubt. Right?
But two monitors is like the most amazing experience. It's so nice to have two
Well,
monitors.
yeah, how do you only do one thing at a time? That's literally insane.
See,
Or how do you do
that's
one
the,
thing?
that's the
What?
boomer way, man. We do
Yeah.
one thing at a time.
Oh,
Yeah.
let me fix my audio output so I'm not getting
Local
random
live
beeps.
dashboard. Manage your channel directly from your phone.
There we go.
Awesome.
So we must be live.
Yeah.
Must be.
Well,
Also,
cool.
I don't know if this is something new with Twitch or Itch, not Twitch, but with Itch. I don't know if this is something. You can launch games that you download directly from the Itch app now, which is really cool.
That's cool.
Rather
Well,
than
that's
having
smart,
to-
right? I mean, that's you
Yeah.
know, that's like GOG or Steam.
Right.
That's just really smart.
Yeah.
Because before it was like you had to download a zip file and you had to extract it to a folder and you always forgot and then
Yeah.
so
No, it makes sense for it to be its own launcher.
yeah. So I'm really happy. But we're live like officially. This is
Yeah.
going?
No, we've been recording for like a couple minutes actually. This whole riveting
Diggity dope.
conversation.
Diggity dope, as Gen Z says.
We get it. We're here.
I'm gonna keep saying that. That's gonna be my catchphrase.
Diggity dope, and it's gonna be
Diggity dope.
it's gonna be big. It's
Yeah,
gonna be
it
big.
is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're gonna be like Kramer, when you come on the show. You're like, "Hi, it's Dylan. What's up, Diggity dopes?"
Yeah,
and
right.
you're just gonna go, "Whoa!"
Yeah.
And then you're gonna get
And
your
like
spin
the-
off.
The studio crowd. the studio crowd's gonna go, ooh.
Well, I actually just got a soundboard,
Mm.
Oh.
and it actually outputs over the mic channel.
Mm-hmm.
So like in Zoom, it sort of comes through on my channel. I mean, it's actually
Sure.
it's really cool. So
Yeah,
I may
that's
start bringing soundboards. We're gonna be like the morning zoo crew.
Yeah.
Okay,
Dude,
have,
seriously, back before the MFA, when I was doing my podcast,
Mm-hmm.
I had a soundboard that was velocity based. So depending on how hard you hit, it would play the sound quiet or loud, right?
Oh,
And-
really? Yeah, that's
Yeah,
smart.
and all 8 buttons on this thing were different gunshots. So
That's amazing.
so during the show, depending on how angry the co-host and I got, because we were drunk
Yeah.
all the time on that show.
Well, sure.
Well, like
So
this.
depending on how angry we were about whatever we were talking about would be how hard we'd hit and which one. So it'd be like a really loud shotgun sound, or like a really loud revolver. It was, and
That's
by the
exciting.
end of the show, everything was as loud as it could possibly go because we were smacking the shit out of it. Okay, but now I'm more refined.
Yet that podcast went nowhere.
No, it actually was the most successful thing I ever made.
Wow.
By far. I had 1,700 subscribers and I stopped.
Really?
Yeah.
And you gave
Because
all
my
that up?
Yeah. Why would you
My
ever?
co-host went crazy. That's the problem. My
Well,
co-host like literally lost his mind. Like he went totally nuts.
Well, that kind of sucks for him, but it sounds like an opportunity for us. I think we need to
Yeah, yeah.
revive whatever this.
Can we get him involved in Neophyte Studios?
Yeah.
Or, hey,
His brother coming back, by the way.
I don't know. I should bring him back
We
on.
just sub him in for you
Yeah.
Mhm.
Fair.
because
Let's get more development done.
It's sort of hard to believe that you're related.
I know. The only thing because he looks nothing like me. We sound exactly alike in my
You
opinion.
do. You
Yeah.
really do sound alike.
Yeah. But we don't look alike. Like he's like a foot taller than me and he's blonde.
Uh huh.
He looks nothing like me.
And you're not envious at all, of course.
No.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, being tall and blonde sucks, I'm sure.
Sucks ass.
Well, hi, world. Anyone who watches.
Hello. Yes.
We're Neophyte Studios. We're doing something a little different today. I thought we were doing AI Dungeon, but I am mistaken. No, dude, I was busy. I just turned my computer on like 2 seconds before I got in here. So we are 3 writers. We play games. We talk about them. We talk about story and gameplay and how those things intersect successfully and unsuccessfully in projects we look at. I'm Matthew Gordon. I'm a MFA in creative writing and fiction. And with me I have Dylan Davis.
Hello.
Who is also a MFA, and we serve under the illustrious Pinckney Benedict, who is more accomplished than either of us are at this point.
By a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I publish more anyway. What that actually amounts to now.
Yeah.
Dylan had 1,700 subscribers to his podcast. If I've ever had 1,700 people buy a book of mine.
I think I got like 3,000 people to look at a TikTok of my cat once. Does that make me special?
That reminds me, Matt. Okay, so before we get into the game,
yeah,
you need to send me a headshot of you because I already got one in Pinckney. I stole it off the internet.
Sure.
And
oh my God, are we going to be in the game?
I have an idea.
Okay.
So I found a website where you can take headshots of people and you can turn them into pixel art. So I turned
cool.
Pinckney, Matt,
and you just need like a straight on.
Yeah, just like a straight on headshot.
Okay. Yeah.
Either Matt needs to be quieter or Dylan needs to be louder because I'm having to ride my volume controls. Matt
well, you
loud.
should be able to do that through your own Discord if you right click.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, so I can remove friends too.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So if I could just get rid of Dylan.
Yeah.
Check it out. Can you guys see that?
Oh, that's cool.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's Pinckney. That's some guy.
Uh-huh.
That's some other guy.
Uh-huh.
Some other guy.
Uh-huh.
Some other guy. Eva. Me.
Oh, dude, I love what it did with your freaking hat.
Yeah, right? It's cool.
That looks so cool.
Full skull.
Uh-huh.
Baby.
Okay, so these are like really good character portraits for like
exactly.
No,
yeah,
I
you
see
were
it.
talking to somebody in an RPG, right?
Yes. Yeah, no, 100. It reminds me of like just before the 2000s. Like it looks like the Blade Runner RPG.
It's so cool. It's
Yeah.
awesome. Love it.
Speaking of
Okay.
did I send you guys the go just talk amongst yourselves.
Okay. Well, so introducing the show today, this is what I wanted to talk about. Oh, that's cool.
What is that?
This video, this is you have to hear the sound though. Sorry.
Okay.
It's not picking it up. Yeah, no, it is just not picking that up.
Nope. Oh well.
I think weirdly, I think that like digital sounds that come from machines tend to not produce enough bass frequencies for microphones to understand them. It's interesting. Like
It's
even
an
your
interesting
voice,
theory.
Your voice is high pitched. It produces more bass frequency.
Huh.
But anyway, so.
Oh
my God! I put the fucking overlay on it.
I put up a video with a face on it.
Yep, and
the filter put the clown makeup on the face in the video.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, man.
That's some meta shit.
It's weird because it's a video of a person with my face actually matted on their face.
wow. Used
It's
fucking.
going deeper and deeper.
This is this is getting weird.
I have no idea what's real anymore.
Okay, so to introduce the show today, I've been on a mission.
Yeah.
I've been on a mission to figure out how can dialogue be more interesting in games, and I've been researching this forever.
Yeah.
Right? And I've been looking for different ways that new game makers and talented game makers are trying to make dialogue more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the ways that I've seen, or at least that I kind of thought of, was making dialogue ammo or dialogue health, right? So that's like the primary mode, because you have to exchange a resource that you have as the player with the game, right?
Sure.
So in this quest and in this search, we all found AI Dungeon, which is like the only mode by which you communicate with the game is through communication, right?
Yeah.
It's you communicate with the game through English communication or German, as we found last week. But today, I found through Deconstruct Team, which everybody who watches Twitch probably knows Deconstruct Team in some way because they made the Red Strings Club and they made Gods Will Be Watching, which are pretty big games.
And
But they
Red
have a bunch of
String
other-
is fantastic. I don't think
Yeah,
I
Red
ever
String is-
finished it, but I was really having a good time mixing drinks and learning about
Yeah.
like horrible conspiracies.
awesome. That game is just great. Like the story is great, the gameplay mechanics are great, it has a great pacing. The thing that is really interesting about Deconstruct Team is they also release so Red Strings is kind of like 3 games, right? It's like there's the bartending simulator where you have to pour the drinks, and then there's the AI that is like producing the body parts through like
you're building cyborgs or whatever.
Yeah. And all of those individual games go on their itch.
Okay.
They release those as free individual games, like packages, right? And so whenever they release a new one, you kind of get this sense of like, oh, what are they working on now?
Yeah.
So the one that they released today is called Interview with the Whisperer, which
is
is
wait, and it came out today.
It came out today, yeah.
Okay, cool.
And this one's super interesting because it uses AI, at least in some capacity. I don't know how much it is.
Yeah, they say chatbot, and yeah, my sense is the chatbots are more sort of, AI is more free ranging, but who knows how they're using the term and what they're actually using.
Yeah, right. And yeah, I don't know how much it's involved, but it has to be involved enough that when you launch the game, it says, do not put personal information into this game. Do not write your social security number. Do not write your address, because whatever you're communicating to, it has memory. So that's very interesting. And just from a ludological perspective in general, it's interesting.
Yeah.
So
well, I mean, that's sort of the equivalent of, based on true events at the beginning of Fargo.
Right? Yeah.
Like, it's not true at all. They just put that up there. It's a fictional declaration of truth, but it's, but it puts you in a different headspace.
Yeah, totally.
It's not true. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's so funny how that, like, what is that going to look like? Like, by introducing a personal stake to the game, whether or not it's true. Like, hey, just so you know, like, this game might take your money. Like, it might just rob you.
Do not put, don't make yourself vulnerable to the NPC in this game.
Right. Like, oh, that's freaky. That's a very interesting concept.
No, it's really
but it is a little buggy. It's crashed twice on me. And I also got into some weird loops. So we'll see if it works now.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the thing about AI, right? It's like once they actually start getting it right, then it will feel like playing with another organic intelligence.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I guess that's always the problem that I've had. So much of the problem I've had with RPGs and stuff like that is, as somebody who writes dialogue, who writes prose, who makes up characters, that kind of thing, it's always they're just so ham-fisted.
Yep.
Right.
And you're like, okay, so I'm in a universe of stupid people who can only say 6 things badly, and I end up feeling like I'm trapped in this universe of morons.
Yeah. Right.
So that's why the AI is going to really change.
Well, and I will say with that, what's worse is when a game is like mildly clever or has a nice character that doesn't pay off, right? Because that really that hint makes me want to just get in there and rewrite the whole thing, and I go absolutely nuts.
I'm always like, why didn't you just hire somebody, But see, this is why we have to build it out from the other side, right? This is why we have to take writers and turn them into game makers rather than leaving the writing up to game makers, because
precisely
it's not working.
Yeah, well, and this is the conversation that we've all been having for like a week now, which is that the combat in games has been refined and iterated on so much at this point that like it's almost like you could just click, drag, and drop combat system into a game. Like it's perfect.
I mean, you literally can in some cases.
Yeah. and where is this medium going to go?
Yeah.
Because you have to open it. Like, if the medium is going to change or evolve, it has to open. It has to open to people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The assumptions are often, really pedestrian. And so then the things that you find that people are like, finally, VR art, and you're like, like that, the thing where the people follow that guy out in the desert and you kind of make him run around. That was 15 minutes in use.
Right.
And it's like South by Southwest, Sundance, declared the greatest thing since sliced bread. And you're like, holy shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. So I think this is the hopeful aspect of this, which is like, I see new things that make me really excited about games as narrative, because it seems like narrative is creeping in. Like, it's no longer this thing that they kind of like pin the tail on the donkey, like they just like hammer it on the side, and they're like, look, there's also brilliant dialogue in the game.
Yeah.
It's never like brilliant, really.
No, never.
Yeah. So, I'm very hopeful. Anyway. Oh.
So that takes us to Interview with the Whisperer.
I hear it's a short game about a journalist.
Yeah, do you think he travels to the countryside and interviews an old man?
Hey, I'm getting there. This
I
game
mean,
uses online
that sounds like an MFA story. What happens in your story? Well, my friend from Lithuania goes and interviews his grandfather.
Right.
So wait a minute. Okay, this front screen here, and Dylan, go ahead and make this full screen if you would.
It can't.
Oh my god, it literally can't. Okay, so the AI, you're typing in information that's spitting back to a server, and so then assumedly everyone is connecting to that same server, so then that would explain why they don't want you to...
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, and presumably then too, it's getting more and more information, whether that makes it better or worse. It's getting more content, right? As people play it, and so a year from now, presumably
it's going to be different fundamentally.
Yeah, and that. But see, again, that's just because replayability has just been such a it's such a big deal, right? That you can play chess against the same person over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Or Go or what have you, but you can't. Anyway, go. So let's click.
Who's going to be our narrator this week?
I will.
Okay.
Or no, not me, because I'm going to be typing.
Okay, I'll take it. What would you say to God should you have the chance to speak with them? Nah, too easy. God used to speak to us through burning bushes and hazy visions, but not anymore. They've upgraded their equipment, made some contact through shortwave radio. Could be funny, but I don't know. Maybe a biblical quote, but which one? Maybe this God is not even the father of Jesus to begin with. Or maybe I'd just flown for 5 hours and drove for 3 more into the Galician. I want to pronounce it Galician. Is everyone cool with that?
Galician?
Galician, yeah.
Okay, Galatian countryside, just to meet a senile man who spent too much time listening to the static. Yeah, that's probably going to be it.
Interview with the Whisperer.
I can't tell if those are little boats or eyes. Oh, Manuel, this is the journalist who came to see you about your machine. Pay attention and be kind to them. Okay. I'm not hungry. Remedius? Remedius. Excuse him. As you can see, Don Manuel has trouble focusing and following conversations. I don't speak Spanish. But if you are persistent enough, you'll see this man is full of wisdom. That is all right. Thank you.
You're Remedios.
I'm not even going to try. Thank you so much for your hospitality. I can speak French. I will handle it from here. Very well. leave you two to it. I'll be tending to the cows if you need me for anything. Okay. Thank you so much. You better behave, you hear me, Manuel? Why don't you tell this person to behave instead, huh? Last one who came by was a joke of a journalist.
It should be who.
Yeah. Good grief. It's alright. I'll come back at noon. Thank you. Give you a minute to review my notes and set up my recorder and we'll begin. Don Manuel. I've never gone hunting in my life, even if my father was a fine hunter, or so they say. I like that. I really like that line. That's nice. He wasn't exaggerating. Yeah, that's pretty good. Oh, cool. I'll try to get as much interesting information as I can and call it a day when I find out enough to compose an article.
Yeah, Deconstruct Team's doing interesting things with phones too. I played another game where with their smartphone was like the primary mode. Like you used your smartphone for everything in the game.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. No, I mean, and it, you know, that's one of those mechanics that is almost never in fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's very seldom in games. You just think we spend all day on our phones. We play games on our phones, but the games we play on our phones don't have phones.
Yeah, it's weird. It's so strange. Well, and it's like every MFA short story is like written in this weird, like alternate version of the early 2000s.
Yeah,
you know, where, like,
exactly.
Phones and yeah, it's strange.
And it's like,
but yeah. So these are your goals here on the side. Learn as much as you can. Profile him. Figure out what the god entity is, and try to gain access to the machine.
And we have no background on the protagonist.
No.
Or even the setting. That's kind of cool. Yeah.
Or she.
Robin, so clearly something wrong with it.
Okay, let's question him. Oh. Just an empty text box, huh? Okay. Is it not clickable?
For some reason, it's not letting me type.
Yeah.
Are you trying to click it in Discord?
No, I don't think so.
Because I do that all the time.
I was so excited.
It's cool. How about we just go ahead, reopen it, relaunch the game, and we'll just tear through that dialogue and.
New thing, this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just puts up a blank box. It's like a John Cage piece that's just silence.
Well, yeah, talking about like other game stories that have been pissing me off lately, I picked up the new Yakuza, and it's a fantastic RPG. It's got great things to say, but like these characters that you're tracking, their arcs and like their motivations just don't match up at certain points, right? And then a character will ask you to do something, and like I as a writer know why the protagonist would do it, how it aligns with their motivation, why their motivation is in conflict, but it's a bigger problem right now, and they just kind of don't acknowledge it. He just kind of is like washing through the motions of doing the things, right? And like I get the setup and the payoff, and like that is the biggest thing that bugs the shit out of me in games, is they just have protagonists doing things, and I understand the story motivations, but none of the characters are articulating things to like have that match up in an interesting way, or even just a good normal way.
Two. So what does Robin say?
Okay, what brought you to make this radio? I'm a radio aficionado myself, and I was trying to come up with ways to encrypt my communications so the government wouldn't pick on my conversation. Okay. As I started working on this polymorphic multi-layered transmission system. I found out someone was already working on a system similar to mine. So I decided to try and match this weird sinusoidal, thank you, gibberish on the airwaves. I'm an English major. And it happened to be God. I wasn't even looking for them. We could write this off as a miracle, if you say. Maybe it was God who inspired me to work on this to begin with. I discovered God is not as omnipotent as many cultures paint them, but they still have their ways. Oh my God. Okay, so that went several lines further than I thought it was. And it was like a coherent, interesting, like, paragraph of speech. It wasn't just AI Dungeon spitting out something.
Which makes me wonder if it's a text parser. Like, is it looking for
it
text to
must
find
be.
dialogue?
It has to be, because that was, or the AI, chatbot.
Yeah.
Is well constrained. Like, I mean,
yeah,
this is
exactly
what I was hoping for from that 911 operator thing, right?
Yeah.
Is that it would sort of confine itself to that world and those interests, and that that's obviously the next step beyond an AI dungeon.
Music's low.
2222222.
What was the woman's name?
Donya.
Can you ask how he came to be living with her?
And now the green screen. That's actually the green screen behind my green screen with that projected on it.
Oh no. I've never been a religious man, but somehow we call this divine inspiration. I mean, there's a lot of magic we don't understand behind human purpose. What drives us to do the things we do? Is there a secret and explanation to it? Okay, so that... Oh my God, right? I was just gonna say, well, that didn't follow. That was kind of shitty, but like they really did a good job of establishing that he has a hard time following conversations.
Right.
Yeah, no, I think.
Oh my God.
They're sort of loaded. They're lampshading the weaknesses of the chatbot.
Right. Yeah. Building.
Yeah.
They say you're talking to a slightly odd old man, and then pretty soon you're going to be asking questions of something that is, either God or the demiurge.
No,
Right?
that is just so exciting. Literally putting that one parameter on this character.
Yeah, and he's an obsessive, so whatever you ask him about is going to kind of go back to his, the transmitter and that stuff.
Why were you encrypting your communication? I think you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. God is delighted. The nature of their existence has never been allowed them to communicate with other sentient beings. Okay. So I'd swear they're having a blast by speaking to me. Uh-huh. That's a really good question. I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
That's the fail state question.
Right. Yeah, that's.
What happens if you do repeat the same question verbatim?
Yeah, because it's weird that the fail state says repeat the question.
Yeah.
It's like, will you get it this time? I don't think so.
Yeah, because either that happens or or it's like AI Dungeon where sometimes it just craps out.
Right.
And that's a good mask. Now I think about it, I think I can nail down in time when this hunger for technology started. From 1950 to 1955, going too fast. There was this woman, Dolores, who came to live in town. I was around my 20s and had a predisposition to mess with electronics already by that time. But meeting her and her weird prototypes, what spark. Yeah, wait a minute.
Yeah, okay, so deconstructing is Spanish.
Yeah.
Got it.
They're from Spain.
Got it. No, I thought I just had a stroke. It's okay. That's fine.
So their translations are a little weird, I think.
Yeah, no, it's literally missing like one word. Ah, I still miss Dolores so much. Okay.
So let's try another text. Say, my wife is named Dolores.
Not that we ever had any romance together or anything. I just enjoyed the feeling of loving her in my own way. That's like kind of sweet, I guess, but the feeling of loving her, I don't like that phrasing. I never desired her physically.
Are you drunk, Matt? Are you okay?
No, I don't know what's going on.
Desired.
But she was the most beautiful human being my eyes ever laid upon.
When we play City of Broken Dreamers, Matt's gonna.
Also, it's been the only person I've ever been able to genuinely communicate with. She shared my hunger for messing with technology, which was super interested in my silly experiments. I would have married her if that meant keeping her by my side. Never mustered the courage of offering her a marriage without sex, though. Ah, Dolores. Oh. This sad, asexual old man has stolen my heart. But now I want to know more about this woman he's living with. Right? Because they have cows, so they have a functional farm. Assumedly, she's the one making money. Why is she taking care of this old man? I didn't quite get... Oh.
Yeah, but I bet you're right. That's that's the thing where in AI Dungeon the wheel just spins.
Yeah.
And, and then it just kind of doesn't.
And Dylan, have you played this already earlier today?
Yeah, but like I said, I didn't get very far because I kept there was one question I was trying to ask that screwed the AI up so much that all he said was, "I didn't quite catch that. I didn't quite catch that."
Oh no, yeah.
So.
Did you, when you played it earlier, did you get any information about that other woman?
No, I didn't try.
Okay. Because I
was obsessed with the government thing.
Oh. Well, what are some of the other questions? Go back up in the notes. Let's see what we got. Profile and background career. Learn as much as you can about the radio. About his supposed god entity. Try to gain access to the machine. Divine inspiration, probably, or sheer luck if there's any difference to it. That feels like it interpreted the question as to why he started, not when. Can you just go right out and ask if you can have a demonstration? Absolutely pay attention. Oh my god, okay, I was not expecting that. God, are you there? I have a friend with me that wants to hear from you. Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Do you have any advice for them? This is the most excited I've been to hear from God that didn't involve acid. God said, "Don't worry about the sun. It's not going to grow and engulf you all.
Okay.
I can keep it in check."
Okay. Well,
wait, is Manuel saying that, or is God saying that?
I think God is saying that.
Okay. And, okay, so those, eyes flashed up on the... Climate change is real, though. You may doom yourselves before I even need to deal with the sun. I love it. Oh, this is good. Okay. Can you just ask for another demonstration? That was fucking cool. Alright, let's try again. Do you have anything you would like to say to this journalist? God said, I am not God. I am but an aspect of what you devised to be God. Okay. I'm not here to punish you nor to guide you. Well, thank you for being so explicit about it. Society is God, culture is God, ever-changing, ever-fading within the collective unconscious.
I mean, it's at least as good as MFA poetry.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, yeah. And it's more exciting, too, right? I'm not, like, actively falling asleep. How do you know this is God? That is a great question. Yeah. I mean, it probably isn't God by any of the standards of any religion I know. Well, yeah, it came right out and said that. But God, as in the creator of our world, definitely is. Okay. They terraformed this planet and put in motion the original cell-based organism from which we eventually sprout.
Oh, so it's
neat.
Those huge pale guys from the Alien
franchise. Yeah. God only did some calibrations with some floods and some meteorite impacts to hard reset the world during the early stages of its development.
Yeah, so floods, presumably that's the Noachian flood.
Yeah, and assumedly the wiping out the dinosaurs, the fucking, what is it? Is it the CTE? Is that the name for it? I don't know. My girlfriend's a paleontologist. Once God was satisfied with this setup, they left life to run its course. Okay.
So these are just the creators from the Alien.
Yeah, from Prometheus. Yeah. All right, so Matt and I are probably not as well versed in religion as Pinckney.
No.
So Pinckney, I want to hear your opinion on this so far, particularly, and also what to say next.
Oh well, I mean, it's interesting. It's not. It isn't. It doesn't seem to be drawing on anything, yet at least particularly deep or, like it's just kind of making stuff up about God.
Right.
The way, any dude who smokes some, dope ringed with opium might do.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's at least that interesting, right?
Right.
So let's, I mean, do we want you want to throw some?
Throw some real religion at it. Yeah.
Okay, so, well, see, I wonder if it's going to know like biblical stories or.
It's connected to the internet. It better.
Yeah. So I mean, just ask him if the story of Noah and the flood is accurate or something.
No, I mean that's a good one. It literally just made an allusion to a flood. Distilling liquors has kept me sane for a long time.
And there you go.
Oh, good. Okay.
But hey, that was funny. It's an art so different to messing with appliances. There's less science to it and more alchemy.
The radio, or is this just us talking to the guy, and then he just says "God says"? Like, I mean, is he listening to the radio? I guess I'm not understanding.
Well, okay,
I guess, from what it seems is that he looks at the radio and he says, "Hey God, will you answer this question real quick?" And then God says, "I'm pretty sure it just pulls from the AI." Like it just.
Yeah. Okay. So we're never going to get a direct experience. So basically, we're just talking to a prophet.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, that's true. And also, I mean, it is in the notes that says, like, gain access to the machine, but I don't know.
Ask him if you can use the machine directly. So fun, even when it goes wrong. Not a heavy drinker, though, so there's an added pleasure to making liquors when you come up with a nice batch and share it with your neighbors. Yeah, that's like a prepared, again, this nice, like, paragraph. A bottle of something nice can always put a smile in the townsfolk.
I think what it is there's a text parser that controls your communication with him.
Mm-hmm.
and then when you get him to talk to the radio, it pulls from the AI.
That's when it's pulling the AI. So he's got a bunch of prepared speeches that when you throw him something that for whatever reason he doesn't want to sort of put you in touch with the AI.
Yeah.
Right. He just gives you a spiel about peeling potatoes or making liquor, or and he used to love back in the 50s or something.
Yeah. But the woman he loved showed up in our notes. That's like important.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's like what Pinckney's saying. Like, it's a text parser, so it looks for keywords. When it finds those keywords, it looks for dialogue options that are tagged with those keywords, and then it plays them.
Well, and you can do that in AI Dungeon, right? I mean, that's what the world info stuff is for.
Yeah.
You put in a keyword, and then you put in kind of the facts that the AI should know whenever someone says that keyword, or whenever that keyword comes up in the AI responses. So.
Yeah. Can I use this machine?
Yeah.
I don't know. Still don't trust you. Let's talk about more. Ask me. That's great. That's a great goal. That as a.
We just have to get him to trust us and give us access.
Yeah, and as a player, I want to keep going. My attention is not dropped off. How do I get you to trust me more? Huh? What can I do to gain your trust? What a weird thing to ask, don't you think? Let's just keep talking and I'll be the judge of that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, it's like
worth a shot.
You'll be in love with me.
Okay. Let's ask him more questions about his past.
What were you saying, Pinckney?
Well, no, I mean that's fine if we want to know more about his past. I was going to say let's ask for more, let's ask for some prophetic utterance.
Okay.
Yeah, let's try to get one more, and then we'll do the past thing.
For sure. I don't know. Oh. I wonder if the game can detect snark. My parents were really worried about me. They thought I developed some kind of obsession. Took them a long time to understand this is what makes my life worth living. But since I was able to make enough money visiting the neighbors and fixing their radios and TVs, in the end they stopped caring. Their only regret is to have died without descendancy, I guess. What can I say? I didn't come to this world to continue someone's bloodline. That's a really good
Okay, so it's something like the Bible tells us that Abraham had a son at nearly 100 or something like that.
Sure.
Yeah, and if you want to say, like, why not you?
Yeah, it's not too late for you, or...
Yeah.
I've never been a man of faith, agnostic if anything.
Okay, so they're just gonna...
So making contact with God at first blew out my mind.
The translation is fun.
But a few weeks into, and I feel weird saying this, I expected more from God. They don't feel as omnipotent as every culture describes them. Yeah, they came right out and said that. I don't know if anything, I feel compassion for them.
Is the what, Pinckney?
Gnostic. Gnostic believed in a structure, a world structure where there was God, right? There is an omnipotent being. but we don't have access to the omnipotent being or his realm at all. And this realm, the realm of reality, is ruled by the demiurgos, or the demiurge. And for the Gnostics, the demiurge was essentially a mad god. So the only god to whom we have access is insane. And so he's sort of describing the demiurge, not fully omnipotent, not God, but to all intents and purposes, from our point of view, right, the ruler of this room.
Yeah. And was this like the Thomas Jefferson version too? Like, it wasn't.
Well, Jefferson sort of rewrote the Gospels without magic, right?
Yeah.
I mean, his thesis was that Jesus was extremely wise and an excellent prophet, and be listened to and believed in the way that, say, the Book of Proverbs or what have you, but that he didn't like all the water into wine.
Right.
And that's what Robin believes too, right? Robin says, well, there used to be miracles, but there aren't anymore. Yeah. So it's a sort of, the God of the Old Testament was a miraculous God, but that was over, 2,500 years ago.
Right. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I get what they're doing and why. Like, I like the attempt at it, and I wonder with more refinement what this would look like, because obviously this just came out and it's free, so it's like a demo that they're kind of putting out right now. But they almost got there with like the whole like setting up this character as kind of like a crazy, like a semi-crazy old man who, it's a good conceit to conceal the AI.
Well, but it kind of becomes, I mean, for me at least, it becomes the imitative fallacy, right? Or the fallacy of imitative, where where you go, okay, it's a story about a crazy guy, and you go, well, but it just doesn't make any sense. You go, well, it's a story about a crazy guy. It's like, well, even a story about a crazy guy has to be coherent, right? I mean,
right.
The imitative fallacy, for those who are watching, for the crowds, the legions of our viewers, the imitative fallacy occurs when the subject matter of the story overcomes the form of the story, right? And and it sort of feels like they've made the subject matter of the story the idea that he's incoherent, but then it becomes like, because didn't we follow up on Dolores? Like, he was talking about Dolores, and so we're like, what's Dolores like? And he didn't tell us anything,
right.
He didn't even follow up on his own subject matter, and that's it's sort of like, how do you construct a conversation out of somebody who tells you something and then you ask them about it and they act like they didn't even tell you?
I think the two things that it's missing, one for interest, right, because it's getting into this like agnostic religious theory, is make him a little bit of a philosopher. He doesn't have to know much, but if he has enough knowledge, and the writers of course have enough knowledge to give him some philosophical perspective, right, where now he's just kind of a conduit for the radio. But if the radio and him were separate characters, that would be a little more interesting.
And I mean, you're here to talk to him about God, and we keep asking about God, and then we get, and all he says is, well, I don't really think it's God.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And it's like, well, and you say, well, why do you claim it's God? And he goes, well, it doesn't really seem like God. It's like, well, what are we all doing here then? Aren't you just actually talking to like an alien spaceship or something? I mean, like, why all this palaver about God when neither one of us believes in God? Did the radio claim it was God? I mean, can we ask him, like, did the radio tell you it was God? Why is he even saying, or did he?
Yeah. The thing that shocked me the most about God's true nature is the role they played in the creation of humankind. It clashes against every myth about the creation of our world. Earth, this place, already existed before God visited it.
He's talking about aliens.
Yeah.
Right?
They only terraformed it. It's no small feat, don't get me wrong. It's just knowing this all wasn't some grand design. God just kickstarted life as we know it, but couldn't possibly predict what's become of it.
Yeah, I mean, this is 2001.
Yeah.
Right? So, superior intelligence visits the Earth. There's no humankind. They change conditions in such a way that 3.5 million years later, or 4 billion years later, or whatever.
Yeah.
Here we are, and now we're trying to figure out our origins, and our origins are that's a being somewhat like us but further advanced visited Earth, years ago, and that's where we have all our legends about God.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of well-trod territory, but I don't know why. Like, nobody seems to be claiming that this is God.
Well, he is in a literal agnostic sense, that this is the thing that spawned our life. Yeah.
Okay, so this is the thing that spawned our idea of God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then he says, well, like, this contradicts all of our myths, and in fact, it does. I mean, the thing that's interesting about Ancient Aliens, I mean, for me, at least, right, as a storyteller, is that in fact the Ancient Alien stuff, people aren't like, it's not at all what you think, right? They're like, it's exactly what you think, but like Ra was in fact this guy wearing a space hat.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Like, I mean, and so they're not like Ra never existed. Like, there was no such thing. We just made Ra for no reason. They're actually explaining why things are the way they are and why we believe in God.
Yeah.
Right. And so that, for me at least, is a more interesting story dynamic. Yeah. You don't just get to wipe out everything we know and go, well, it's just nothing like what you thought it was. They have to work out a system whereby every question you ask, they can go, oh, well, Jesus was just an alien with, a med pack or whatever. Like, they have to figure out a way to take, they can't just obliterate our mythology. They have to make their mythology work within our mythology.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's fascinating. Like, I love that. I mean, it's like people who deny the moon, but they don't just go like, oh, well, there was never anything like it.
Yeah.
They go, well, here's why you see what you see. It's just you saw the thing you thought you saw. You just didn't have the right context within which to interpret. Yeah. And I don't feel like this is recontextualizing religion.
No, and not only that, but I also feel like that this is, when an MFA student writes a short story about God and they don't know what the fuck they're talking about with God.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. They have no religion. They don't believe in anything.
Yeah. They weren't raised with it. I mean, like, even me, like, I wasn't raised with religion or God, or I never read the Bible, not even once.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But the thing that was interesting to me after I got to the MFA here was that I realized that was like there's a stark problem with that I never really understood the nature of belief. Like, I've never truly understood what belief means and why it's a valuable thing to understand. Because when I read through this, I realize, like, it's two people who do not understand faith talking about faith, basically.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. There's nothing at stake between them, because neither of them has a very strong opinion, right?
Yeah.
They're just kind of like, well, the radio's talking and you say it's God, but then you say it defies all definitions of God, and I don't believe in God.
Yeah.
So that doesn't bother me. Like, if Robin were a religious zealot, right?
Yeah.
Who had come, and this guy's like, well, God isn't omnipotent, and Robin would be, right? So, I mean, because as a religionist, I kind of wanted this to, like, challenge me and freak me out.
Right.
Somebody who who is a Christian, as somebody who, I know Jewish mythology better than most Jews, right?
Way better than me.
Yeah, well, I mean, and there's nothing. Yeah, I mean, it's just because it's of interest to me, and this feels like people without sort of stakes in the argument, creating a narrative about people without stakes in the argument.
Right. Or thinking that they're creating stakes within the argument, but fundamentally misunderstanding what the actual stakes are.
Well, and even they don't need to have that belief or personal stakes. They just need to write a character that does.
Character has to have stakes, right? Yeah, but you kind of have to you have to understand the stakes.
The perspective, yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Sure.
I mean, no. I don't. Yeah, by no means do you have to be religious, but to write about religion interestingly and well. And I mean,
Yeah.
I love hearing, from, I've got friends who are Satanists, I've got friends who are atheists,
Mm-hmm.
And it's all, those are very interesting conversations.
Right. Well, and also like, so like I see the same thing in Christian film, for example. Like in Christian film, when they write the atheist into the story, the atheist, like I look at it and I'm like, well, that's obviously
Yeah.
Right.
written.
That's obviously phony.
Right.
Yeah, it's like in every atheist in a Christian movie story, the atheist is actually Christian. It's just something bad happened in his past,
Mm-hmm.
and you know what I mean. So
Right. When my wife died in that accident, I knew God couldn't be real.
Yeah.
Right. But what you want to have with this guy is a conversation about, right, theodicy
Mm-hmm.
is, and not the Odyssey, but theodicy, as you're a philosopher, Dylan, so the theodicy is the discussion about why evil exists in the world, right?
Mhm.
Sure.
The question of evil in the world. And Christians would say, for instance, or any monotheist would say, well, God is not responsible for evil in the world, right? That is, God doesn't do evil. Evil comes from some other source, even though everything was created by God, right? And it's a mystery. The source of evil is a mystery, and that's the kind of thing that would be fun to explore with an AI.
Yeah.
Right.
In the way, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. You finish it up.
No, I'm done.
Okay, but so the other
until somebody interrupts me loudly enough to make me stop.
So the other thing that, and this is taking it in the other angle. So like when I came into this, I thought we were going to be going for the actual, like for God, like Christian God.
Right.
Like I thought that he had talked to Christian God, and I was going to be getting Bible verses, and I was really excited for that. I was super excited, mostly because I've been reading up on the God stuff recently, trying to teach myself. But then it's pretty clear, and also based on some of the other demos that they've put out in the last couple of weeks, it looks like Deconstruct Team is making an Alien game, because in another version of another game that has a very similar art style, an alien spaceship comes down. That's why I thought it was so crazy.
Right. Well, but this guy, from what this guy is telling us, he's just in touch with the aliens from Prometheus, and he's decided to call it God.
Right.
Yeah.
While denying that they have godlike qualities. And so I don't, I like, why doesn't Robin just go, hey, wait a second? I mean, maybe we could go that route, like,
and ask about aliens.
Get back into it, or are we done with
Say it again.
Go in, maybe you have Robin say, well, dude, it really just sounds like you're talking to aliens.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Well, and then presumably the old man will just go off on some rant about, the spider web outside his window when he was a little girl.
Yeah. But the thing that I want to see this game do in a future iteration,
right. Or some game do, or the game we're going to make.
Yeah.
What I want to see with this though, particularly, is I want one of the things that it failed on in the level of it constructing its own mythology is that it doesn't seem like the game even believes its own mythology.
Right. No. Yeah. And it's a sort of prefab mythology in a way. I mean, unless I'm just completely misjudging it, but
no,
we're all experienced readers of this particular sort of literature, right? We're experienced readers of fiction just generally, and there are structures you recognize, and this one, I mean, it's not even like you're not supposed to recognize it. Like, I think anybody playing this, any culturally literate person playing the game to the point we played it would go, "Oh, dude's not talking about it at all.
Yeah,
he's just stumbled on an alien frequency."
Right. And the vague movement of it, I feel detracts. Like, I want this guy, the guy that you're talking to, the old man Manuel. I want that dude to have a consistent internal philosophy, like core belief system, because he doesn't seem to have one. He's just kind of like,
you've got to be challenging him, like trying to point out to him what he misunderstands about what his experience is.
Well, what you gentlemen are describing is conflict. Like,
there's no conflict,
yeah.
right? There's no conflict at the moment because nobody is standing in the way of anybody figuring out or believing what they want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if whoever's the religious zealot, whoever's the skeptic, one or the other, it works with each character being either.
Right? Yeah. But one has to be one and the other has to be the other. You can't have two people who vaguely agree with each other about something neither of them seems to care that much about.
Yeah.
Because then you have to pay short story.
The showman says it's an obsession, but you don't see any sign of obsession. He's not protective. He doesn't seem like he's trying to prove anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another interesting route they could take it, right? Because you said they're both in like vague agreements. If they're both strongly in agreements, right? And then something is wrong with the machine as the third character, and there's your conflict. That's interesting as well.
I agree. Well, it's the usual thing, right? That there's sort of this clever idea. There's this really interesting thing, and there's a smart way to accomplish it.
Yes.
And a good conversation system, and then the content is just it's just this sort of 60 hertz hump.
Right.
And and it's like, well, we actually kind of want music, like we want a tune. And there's nothing. I mean, I would not play this game beyond the point at which we.
Right.
Yeah, I think at the time we stopped, I was still willing to go for a little bit. But if I kept getting stonewalled, I would have petered out.
I'm staring death in the face, man.
Yeah.
But the thing that was really funny was while we were playing, I kept looking over at Matt and Pinckney, and Matt was like excited, he was in it, and I get why, because I agree. I think there are some super interesting things, and I was looking at Pinckney, and Pinckney was like, I could see the like ears like in his head as he was like, I need to see something about it. Like I need to see it, and particularly that's why I wanted to do it. Like why I wanted so desperately for Pinckney's opinion, because of the God aspect. Like I feel like God is a more loaded term than people in our generation give it credit for, and I'm seeing it now that I'm older.
Yeah.
And
maybe it's just okay boomer or or whatever, but yeah, I mean it that aspect, but see, the thing that's interesting about God, to me at least, is mystery and contradiction and like powerful cognitive dissonance. How do you believe in something that for which there is literally, like, I cannot adduce like scientific evidence. I can tell you things that make it seem to me like God is alive in the world, and you can always just go, well, that's just wind or photosynthesis, right? Like I can go, well, I walk outside my front door, and I hear the cry of the hawk, or whatever, and that, God speaking to me, and you can just go, well, you're just a super sensitive idiot, or like, oh, that's Gaia or whatever, right? So, but that's actually such an important aspect. Like, I think religionists have a leg up in like creating and engaging with narrative art, because we're taught from, and this is Christians, this is Jews, this is Muslims. I assume it's Baha'i. I don't know that much about other religions, but like we're taught to believe things that we are simultaneously taught are literally unbelievable, and that nobody except a very small number of people at that time believed that these things were true. Yeah. And the people who believed that they were true, awful things happened. Right? I mean, it's not even like, and then St. Paul went on to become king of the world, and and Peter was just rich and partying his ass off. It's like nope. Peter got crucified upside down, and Paul was like beheaded. I'm trying to remember who got sawed in half. I mean, it's just bad. And it was like, why?
Your hand just slipped up under your mask, and it was very upsetting.
Yeah, I do find it very interesting.
Oh my God.
We're getting like this fantastic religion moral lesson from a man who looks like Joaquin Phoenix.
Well, that's comedy, baby. That's lowering of status right there. That's fantastic.
And
I love. Yeah, it's so, but I mean, but I don't, like, the last thing I want to do is be coming down on these guys. Like, they're doing something other people aren't doing.
Right.
Well, yeah, and it's a fucking hell of a tech demo. Like,
Oh,
the character was there with bits of personality, but as far as a character with beliefs that make them an interesting, dynamic thing to engage with, that's not there.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really smart. But I'm super glad this exists, right?
Yeah.
Because it just says like, okay, things are moving in the direction we're talking.
Yes.
You know, of actual story as opposed to, stories kind of overlaid on top of, graphics and game mechanics, but story as the actual thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like this very clearly, its primary ludological method by which you communicate is its narrative, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
exactly.
That's super cool.
Well, and like what I love about AI Dungeon is the better writer you are, the better your experience is.
Oh, yeah.
Right? If you're good at kind of matching the AI and pacing the AI and leading the AI, right, but also giving the AI room to operate, if you can operate in that realm of like Keatsian negative capability with the AI, you get a much better experience of the AI. Right?
Yeah.
In the same way that if you're a really good writer and a really good reader and willing to deal with uncertainty and mystery, you get a much better experience out of reading.
Yeah.
Yeah. But just, good writers tend to be good audience for this stuff because we have the ability and when you bring that ability to something like AI Dungeon, right, it rewards that because it'll give you something weird that you're not like, well, fuck that, that's weird. You're like, oh, I should have thought of that. Like, I wish I had said that first. And then you reply in a way that, tries to one up it or you yes and the AI.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to like twist the AI into the form you want. And but when we played the Lovecraft module, it felt like it was the AI was being shoehorned and it didn't care in something like the way this didn't care much what we had to say.
Right.
It was just monologuing and pausing occasionally for us to say something.
Yeah, and then as soon as we just put in the opening 2 paragraphs of Dunwich Horror, it was perfect.
Right, and all of a sudden we're like, macking on Lavinia Waitley and.
I mean, it became a full scene. That thing, I still think about when they go down to the well with the baby and the broken glass, and then it ends and she just has to pick it up and go back to the house.
Right. No, I mean, it was a good little story, and but there was no, but it was because we were willing to engage with the mystery of the Lavinia Waitley character as the AI interpreter. It was cool. Like it was really a fun experience and actually quite easy to generate in a way. I mean, I tend to have less fun the more direct. Like the 911 thing irritates me because it won't play my game, and I'm like, well, that's sort of a stupid, like it was a dumb way to come at it,
Yeah.
Or
but it was a good experiment.
Expectation to have, because it does something else that's actually more interesting than the 911 game I got. The 911 operator game I got off Steam for like $6 was totally satisfying.
Yeah. I'm glad you picked that up. I mentioned that when we were doing that, and there's other like versions of that exact simulator that exist out in the world.
There's a British one or a European one that's like whatever fucked up number they have in Europe. 122 or something. I mean, 911 people, let's just get it together. It's got to be 911.
911 and the Imperial system. Let's fucking go.
Feet, inches, and penny farthings and halfpennies. Let's stick with that because it makes a lot of goddamn sense.
The final thought that I wanted to say about this game was I'm really excited because they, like I kind of pre-said at the beginning of the show, it seems like they tend to put 3 mini games out and then they kind of mash them together into one big game with a lot more content.
Yeah.
And so I'm really excited because I hope that they develop the context for this particular conversation, because I think this is a fucking great idea. I think it's
so. You know that they are either in our audience right now, or many people are going to send them this link.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Given our influence in the gaming world.
Well, and I tried to update our category on Twitch, and they don't even have a section for Interview with the Whisperer. I couldn't even make one yet.
They probably don't have one for 911 operator either. I don't know how deep they're
streamable
for tagging games. It seems like Twitch is particularly interested in like games that are really popular. Like they tag games like that. Not to shit on 911 operator.
The developers are gonna track you down, Dylan, break your kneecaps.
I'm just gonna make a plug for 911 operator because again, our legions of fans will go out and buy it just on my word alone. Yep. But like it doesn't use the street names, which is too bad. But it will allow you to pull in like a map of Carbondale.
Oh, and really?
Weirdly enough, like the firehouse, it's not where the new firehouse is, but it is where the old firehouse was. And like the police headquarters is where the reasonably new police headquarters is. You know, like
That's
I
cool.
mean, and the streets, like you know, like people are going way up toward Murfreesboro and you know and stuff like that. Like it's actually pretty interesting to play on a map. You have some access to.
That's right.
Yeah,
it's not Hong Kong or whatever, where I just have no idea. It doesn't. I haven't been able to get it to download Murfreesboro yet, but like it pulled down my hometown, West Virginia. It has Roanoke, Virginia, where I lived for a long time, and so I actually haven't ever played the like career mode. You know, I just love being on the night shift in a small town.
Yeah, and for a couple of bucks, like that's entertaining. My thing is like entertainment for $1, right? We pay like $20 for a movie ticket. That's 2 hours. Like if I can play a 10-hour game, you know, that's fantastic.
Well, and we've addressed this, right? Like video games, computer game, whatever. You know, I don't know what to call them now, but like they're the best value on the planet. Like, is it, you know? And as soon as you start getting AI and you know this kind of regenerative quality, where you don't just wander into it's not purely procedural, right? So it's not just the same experience with slightly different graphics. It's actually a different experience every time.
Yeah.
You know, like that's going to be because that's the quality I think we want from stories is the sense that we're living other lives and that we can make other choices, right? Yeah. I would love a social game where I got to meet people and just try like, okay, so what happens if, the first time I meet Matt, I'm just like, hey, you goatee wearing, weird haired motherfucker, or what happens when I'm like, when I'm nice and polite, or you know what I mean? Like that sense that you can relive these live these moments, in a kind of unstructured way.
No, that's like just a desire that I feel like is very part and parcel to being a human being, right? Like the idea of time travel is exciting because you can go back to your past events and do them with knowledge that you could not have at the time, right? Or you sit there thinking about something stupid you said, or a memory from your life and how you would have done it different, or what you could have gained, or so that like so taps into a really deep desire of us as beings that experience time.
Well, it's the unbearable lightness of being, right?
Yeah.
The idea that it is literally unbearable that we only get one crack at life.
Yeah.
And so, that's, so that's Kundera. That's that whole thing is that it is literally unbearable. The conditions of our life are literally unbearable, and yet we bear them. And one of the ways we bear the conditions of our life is imaginatively making our lives not unbearably light. Right? By reliving and reimagining and telling stories forward. And it's why I love all history. Right? I'm just like, oh, it's so great. Like, what would the world be like if that battle had gone the other way? Or if, J.P. Morgan, J.P. Morgan had never existed.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Super
All right, well, we will stop. That we've made our literary reference now to Milan Kundera's The Unbearable Lightness of Being.
So looking
very sexy book and a very sexy movie.
Looking at the calendar, so next week is the 9th. So we'll find something to stream, and then the 10th, I know Dylan's thinking about this too, Cyberpunk comes out.
Well, see, here's
that's right. Yeah, well, it comes out at like 6 in the evening on the 9th, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah. It comes out at midnight in Poland or something.
Okay.
This is a big event in my household. My son is like, I hear about Cyberpunk 2077 and the delay. Like, it was a chattering experience.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, it's been rough.
Me and your son should chat about it, because we agree.
So I was thinking we should do something. I know I'm going to want to get into it right away, and Dylan, you're probably going to want to get into it right away, but we should talk over chunks of it. I think that would be good.
I think it could be, we'll talk, because I really do want to show my stuff too, especially now that I have another week to work on my dialogue bullet system.
Yeah. No. I think
well, let's do that next week.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, let's do. But here's the one thing about the dialogue bullet system. I think is, and I'm sure you've considered this, right? But that it needs to, like, when I shoot a bullet at you in a game, I have one fewer bullets, but you have fewer hit.
Right.
Right. So there needs to be that trade-off with the other person's.
Right.
psyche.
Right.
Just as you're burdening your own psyche with various responses, those responses also need to have an effect on them.
Right. Yeah.
It becomes this kind of strategic, like if you're there with Mike the meat selling man, that cracked me up. But if you're with that guy and you want meat, like you know, if we're haggling over meat, like I need to be breaking him down to where he's going to give me a real bargain on meat.
Right.
And that's why I'm expending time. That's why I'm expending energy and value.
Yeah, I actually talked about this with James today, where it's like you need to track exasperation for both characters, or like exasperation versus resolve, or
right. Because if you and I get into a yelling match, right, presumably we're going to keep doing it until one of us breaks.
Right.
And just like, okay.
Yeah, and that makes sense when you put it in terms of HP and ammo. Those are totally separate, and both parties have.
But say we've been yelling, and then I choose to come in under that tone, but with something really cutting, right? Like your defenses are going to be up here, because we're yelling, and then I'm just going to come in, into your gut, and you're not going to be protected because you were expecting me to yell at you again. So my use of wit, right, is all of a sudden changes the whole dynamic of our, kind of one-on-one fight.
Oh my god. Okay, here's a thought, Dylan. Whenever it goes into like a conversation, like a conflict, it should do kind of like an Undertale thing, and like a boxing arena comes up. So you can use all these boxing metaphors, and you can just justify it by saying the protagonist is very imaginative. They love boxing.
One of the things I really do,
that one's free.
Because the main character's name is DJ Vomit, right? So I want the game to start with DJ Vomit, like, interacting with the caller into the radio show that he does.
Sure.
And, it almost treated, like, he runs, like, a very, I don't know, like, political or a very controversial radio show, and then kind of frame conversations like that. I don't know. We'll talk about it next week. So
yeah. Good. No, that's
I'm
exciting.
so looking forward to it.
To our legions of fans, next week will be Cathartigan. That is Dylan. Will be Cathartigan's word bullets.
Yeah, dialogue health.
You'll see why we're qualified to critique the interview with the Whisperer people.
Absolutely. You'll see.
And last question here, Dylan. Are you going to have it on itch for next week?
Yes.
Okay. Because I would love if I could download it, because we both know Pinckney can't play games. If I could download it and you...
Pinckney will be able to play this game 100%.
Okay. And you can kind of talk over me playing through it.
Yeah.
To give you some QA testing. How's that sound?
Yeah. I mean, I'm telling you, there's going to be about... It took me probably 2.5 hours to write the first branching dialogue.
Sure.
And that was with no refinement and bugs. So, like, you know... Like,
well, still, I'd love to see, for you, for all of us, me coming in totally cold with the interface, with the dialogue. If you're up for it.
Great.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, of course, yeah, totally play it. I'm just saying, like, I don't know how long we're going to be able to go.
Oh, that's
I think
fine.
We can talk about it.
We've gone an hour and 20 minutes on a game that we didn't play very much of. So
Yeah.
That's true.
I tend to think we're not going to run out of
material.
Yeah. Right. True. All right.
Well, cool. That's the stream.
They're way better than
See
me.
you all. I'm sure I'll see you or be in communication with you before next week. But
yeah,
I'll see you all next Wednesday.
Wonderful.
Yep.